Good afternoon, everyone, and happy autumn.
Yes.
Yes,
You
indeed.
too.
It's a pleasure to be with you all and to talk a little more about what's happening this season. Some of the people you've seen once since they've been back from summer, some of the people you have not. But it's time to use inspiring words. And I know you look ahead and you think, my goodness, I'm looking at a calendar. It's going to be Halloween. It will be Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it is. Lots of things are coming up. And I think that it's time to think about carefully, without frightening anyone, inspiring them a bit to create maybe a little warmth in the hair, a little bit of a change, or a little bit of sparkle. I think when you talk to most women and you say, I love what we're doing. How about you? And always check in. How are you with it? And I remember this, even if you've been seeing a client for a very long time, sometimes they'll come to another salon and I would say to them, why are you with me? You've been at another salon for a long time. And they'd say, I wanted something different. And since my colorist never mentioned anything, I thought they wouldn't do it, or they didn't think I needed it. I think that creating a warmth in the hair, even though if a person likes an ashy look, but let's talk about if a person likes an ashy look, but creating some sparkle or some dimension in the hair by doing, I call them little angel lights at the temples. Remember this, regardless of the season, but especially now that fall is here. A lot of women are letting their hair grow a bit. That means we have a little more movement in the hair, a little more dynamic. Even someone with Annie's length. I mean, sometimes the wind blows and one side goes back or whatever. And most people, as we go on in life, even if you're in your 20s, for goodness sake, enjoy. You've seen a lot of accent now, especially as autumn begins, on a new way of lining the eye, which involves a much thicker line at the outer corner and almost like a dovetail or a winging up of the eye. This is very flattering. And if we continue that line up into the temples on both sides of the hairline, this is a very exciting way to just put some sparkle or a little bit of autumn into the hair by, with brunettes, maybe putting just a touch of caramel or maple or just a lighter brunette around the face, or maybe even a rich golden, almost palomino blonde, or a really soft caramelly auburn. And I'm not talking about frosting the hair. I'm not talking about super white, unless she is blonde, but really putting some interest so that we're lifting the eye. And when the head turns, there's a little something going on. And why do I bring this up? I want, sometimes getting into a swimming pool, you like to go into the shallow end and walk in slowly. It's the same way with hair color. Doing these little changes, especially, look, in most of the summer, they let their hair go. They're busy. They've got kids. They're going to the beach. They're on vacations. The hair, they're washing it and conditioning it, but it's a little dried or dehydrated. Now we can talk about keeping our conditioning, a beautiful shape in the hair, but let's accent it with these sparkling pieces. And even if they're a highlighted person, let's now concentrate a little closer and a little more around the face and with these little baby lights. And I will say there are two products I love to do this. Now, if someone has no color in their hair and it's virgin hair, we can lighten the hair with color and do it subtly and be pretty successful. But one of the things I like to do most, and I've tried this and talked about it a lot, is use something called, and I have it here, Lovely Lights Cream Lightener. And the reason this lightens just as much as a powder, however, it lightens more slowly. So a little tip, and I did this on a client of mine named Anne, who was a rich brunette, very pretty. And when I met her, her hair was almost black. It wasn't right, and she knew it. And her friend had good brown hair. She came to me. And I got to the point, I said, Anne, how about if we pop a little sparkle around your face? And she said, oh, they tried that once in a salon and my hair turned bright red. And I said, we're not going to do that. So what I did with Lovely Lights, I almost did it like we would call almost nothing. I mixed Lovely Lights with 5-volume Oxy Milk, a 5-volume cream developer. Almost nothing. Annie, it's like greatest. And I mixed it into a nice creamy consistency. And I wove right behind the hairline on each side. I zigged and zagged right on the highlight, about 5, 6 pieces on each side. And the minute I did them, I set the timer for like 6 minutes. I opened the foil and all I could see was a bit of movement. I was disrupting the melanin in the hair without lifting it out. I was making the melanin not packed as tightly, but beginning to diffuse. So the hair appeared to be a lighter brunette. I shampooed her, conditioned her. She was blown out. She was thrilled. And she said, "How did you know to do that?" I said, "Well, time with all lighteners, time and volume of developer create the final result. With lightener, the longer you leave it on, the more it will lift. The higher the volume of the developer, the faster it will lift. Therefore, less time, lower volume developer, less of an effect. Unless, of course, you walked it away and left it on for 2 hours. So when you're working with somebody who's terrified and you want to do something autumn leaves, I love in Beauty Fusion, we have a shade 6WG, which is a warm, a level 3-4. It's a level 6 warm golden. And I love to mix it with our 12G a lot, our level 12 gold, 12.3. It gives the most beautiful, almost amber, sunlit golden that nobody can say, "Oh my God, you made me a redhead." Oh my God, it's so soft and subtle. So this beginning of weaving in or influencing the hair with a bit of warmth or maple or golden, and use terms like golden or sunlit or maple or autumn leaves or autumnal, or, with your bolder clients, crimson and copper and russet and peach. And for blondes, I mean, even a little bit of strawberry or warm golden or butterscotch. Using terms like that, make the client, you have to, it's like you're painting pictures with words. And if any of you have been coming to our Beauty Fusion classes and our Artego, it's color classes, this is the kind of thing we show. And of course, Annie knows we'll be showing the next one this coming Sunday, September 29th in Annapolis, Maryland, at the DoubleTree Inn, and we have almost 100 people coming. It's a full day of not just the trend. I don't like to talk about trend because if you talk about these words next autumn or 5 autumns from now, they'll resonate, maybe a little differently. When you taught color 15 years ago, and I would talk about not bringing every highlight all the way to the scalp, and I would say melting it or doing butterflies away from the scalp, people in my audience would say, "Oh, I love that, but my clients would never go for that. Every highlight has to be down for the root or she won't pay." Now look what's happening now. Everybody's getting smudges and root smudges, and they're putting a demi-liquid and painting it, or a demi, to soften the root, and then maybe just leaving the face frame out. So, what happens is the tables turn and people like a little bit of change. And sometimes placing some baby strands, maybe 1.5 inches away from the root and into the ends on a brunette or a redhead, and then glazing the hair at the sink, is just an amazing way to put warmth in. And P.S., for your fraidy cats, we have things that are wash out. And one of the best things I've ever used is something called Lola. It is an Artego product. It is a wonderful hair conditioner. Lola shades they're conditioners with color in them. And we have a beautiful almond, a blueberry, but I want you to think about a couple shades. We have a sun and a copper color. And what I'll tell you is that when you mix mostly sun into a bowl, like 2 or 3 tablespoons, and just a 1/4 of a pinch of the copper, and mix it together, you create a very warm, like a sunrise golden. And if you have highlights in the hair, and after you shampoo and towel dry, you apply the Lola, and with your gloved hands, really massage, work through and everything, leave it on 5, maybe 10 minutes, and rinse. The color is extraordinary, even on virgin brown hair, and I'm talking about anybody level 4 or lighter. Now, here's the thing that's interesting, Annie and buddies who are watching. If she doesn't like it, the next time she washes her hair 3 or 4 times, it's completely gone. So it's try on color that actually conditioned the hair. Nobody wrecked her hair. Nobody gave her roots. Nobody did. But when the smaller and tinier the highlights or the more porous the hair. And a lot of you are working on hair where women get back from the summer. The hair is very faded on the ends, and they'll allow you to trim the hair. Some of them will buy great retail products like our Hydro Boost from Rain Dance or Deep Conditioning, and they're incredible products. And if they don't, I hope to God they're using something, but it's not great like ours is. And it's not salon only. But you're still looking at a woman who has a length of hair growing out, and she also has porous mids and ends. When you use a color conditioner on those ends, because they're porous, they will take. And for rich brunettes, you might have rich brunettes who are brown with nice brown hair and yucky, blah, ashy or golden faded orangey ends. And they don't want to, in quotes, pay for color. Well, why don't we say, you know what? I know you're here for cut and blowout. I just want to do something to make your ends look a little richer. And if you don't like it, it'll wash out. We have a shade in Lola called Choco, the chocolate shade. Again, Annie, I love it. After we shampoo and towel dry, I put it I glove my hands up and I mush it all the way through those faded mids and ends. Talk to her for 5 minutes. Tell her how wonderful she is. Ask her what her plans are for the fall and if she's going to dress up for Halloween or whatever. And rinse. And do you know that hair is a lovely shade of brown? It's not ashy ever. It's not that dark, yucky shade. It's a rich chocolate brown. And the hair is shiny. It combs through like a dream, and she thinks you're a big superstar. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that going into autumn, we're seeing a lot of hair that's, believe it or not, shorter. And I don't mean short. I mean, maybe for people whose hair was almost down to their waist at the shoulder. We're seeing a lot of lobs where the hair is bobbed, but it's shorter in the back, longer in the front with a lot of long layers and texture. We're seeing a lot of looks of volume, and nothing helps you promote volume by making sure that the hair is not evenly colored root to tip. Now, for your conservative clients, there are people who want the hair completely covered, and it is black at the root, black at the mids, and black at the ends, and they think they look great. Well, okay. And we try to get away from that. But even a blonde or a redhead, in motion, the feeling of a little depth or a melted root, a deeper depth at the root with brighter, lighter on the ends is what I try to do with mine. And I guess you can't see it so well, is terrific. It works. My cats are having a kitty fight. They'll stop in a second. Hey, hey, you. Oh, sorry. Geez, I don't have kids. I have cats. Anyway, so I want to talk about something I learned this week from a chemist. And I was really amazed because, I try to go to classes, Annie, and I think that for everybody out there, no matter what I love teaching. It is my passion to teach and to color hair. And if I don't get new information, you're going to think I'm pretty stale. And what I learned from this chemist was the new approach to talking about lift and an enhanced way to teach about developer volume. Now, many of the people who followed me for years remember that I say this. Developer volume, as we raise it, does slightly increase the way a permanent hair color formula will lighten the hair. However, peroxide is not the motor of that formula. The level of the color is the motor. The higher the level of the color, the bigger that motor is and the more it will lift. Example, a level 2 colors like a Volkswagen, a level 7 hair colors like a Camaro, and a level 12 hair color is like a Ferrari. Weak, stronger, strongest. So the higher the level, the more power is in that color. The developer, the peroxide, is the oxidizing agent, which it activates those dye molecules. It gets that alkaline. Remember, developer is acidic. It gets those alkaline molecules moving. And the word, Annie, I love is the developer volume will allow us to a little or a little more disrupt the melanin in the cortex.
Huh.
Not bleach out, not remove, disrupt. So if that brown or orange or gold melanin is packed tight into that cortex, the developer volume diffuses it a bit and loosens it up. Developer itself will not bleach hair to white because developer cannot remove pheomelanin, which is the natural golden orange tone in the hair's cortex. Most every person who's a brunette or a redhead has a lot of pheomelanin in the hair. There are some Native Americans and Latin Americans, I'm sorry, who you can put bleach on and they have almost black hair. You open the foil and the hair is already gold. There's no pheomelanin. But that happens 1 in 200,000 times in the United States. Most everybody is a mixture of pheomelanin and eumelanin in the hair. So interesting term, disrupting the melanin in the hair, not bleaching the hair. So I'll tell a story that some of you get sick and tired of hearing, but I'm going to tell it one more time. Years ago, I was walking out of a big beauty show and a man who had just started a very successful hair color company, and I had just helped launch and create something called Logix, asked me if I'd like to work for him. And I thanked him and I said, I had a nice job and thanks anyway. And he said, listen, I'm doing pretty well. And I said, you are, but I said, why are you teaching people the following? You're confusing a lot of people. He said, well, what am I teaching? I said, well, you're telling people that if they mix permanent dye with 10 volume developer, they will get 1 level of lift. 20 volume, 2 levels of lift. 30 volume, 3 levels, 40 volume, 40. He goes, yeah. He said, well, the way you teach it at the company you work for, hairdressers are stupid. They don't want to do this other thing. Just tell them that. And I went, it's not true. So I went back and I tried something. So now let's talk the opposite. A lovely lady had a beauty salon and was using this brand of color. And a client came in who had brown hair, brown like Annie's. And she had her hair highly frosted. I want you to think of Annie's color with white highlights all the way through it. And she said to the salon owner, what I'd like to do, I don't want these highlights to go away, but I'd like them to look like a soft golden. So the hair colorist said, great, fine, and showed the woman the color chart. So she showed, and there was a swatch of a shade 10 golden, level 10 gold. And the woman pointed to that, said, I would love my highlights to be that color. So the woman thought, if I mix this level 10 permanent dye with 10 volume, it'll deposit the gold, but it'll only lighten her brown hair 1 level. So she mixed the level 10 permanent dye with 10 volume developer, and she applied it to this woman's brown hair with the highlights. The result was what we would call, why don't we prevent regret? The woman's hair, a level 10, when applied to a level 2, turns out to be like a level 6, which is dark blonde. And at level 6, what loves to rear its head? Red orange. So is it true that 10 volume developer only permitted the hair to lift 1 level? The motor, or the level of the color, 10, was reacting with a less volume developer, but that did not inhibit that level 10 color from lifting. If I put, I don't know anything about cars except how to drive a little, but if you put regular gas in a Ferrari instead of high test, the car would still run on the regular gas, right? I guess, but not as great as it would with the high test. Think of 10 volume developer as unleaded regular, and think of rocket fuel as 40 volume as rocket fuel. That's how we do this. Does that help people? What do you think, Annie?
Does that make sense to everybody? Because I swear every color company has always said 10 volume is one level left.
Almost, well,
everybody.
almost every company, not all, but almost all, because at 40 years ago, they all started following suit because they said, hey, it's the easiest thing to do and the fastest thing to sell. But when you have people in a room all day and you show them a swatch, or you take a model and you do one foil with permanent dye wrapped in 10 volume, and the one next to it with permanent dye wrapped in 30 volume, set a timer for 25 minutes, okay, 30 minutes. Then shampoo the hair, condition it, blow it, and everybody goes. So that is the way. And if anybody, by the way, if people are doing this, the way they formulate is with 10, 20, 30, and 40, and they're happy with it, I want them to change nothing. I'm explaining I was either blessed or damned, because as a young colorist, as a young person in my 20s and through my 50s, I've been working at 60. I've been working with chemists. And this other chemist and I got in this conversation, and I thought that it was really, really interesting. And the one thing that many of the things I love about Beauty Fusion is that it is so flexible that it reaches us in a bottle that is acidic and has no ability to lighten the hair, right, Annie? When we mix it with 5 volume developer, Beauty Fusion, if anybody out there uses Shades EQ or Rusk Deep Shine or Paul Mitchell, the liquid, okay, anybody's liquid acidic demi, it's a demi. A demi is not a long-lasting semi-permanent. D means demi, and D means developer, and D means deepen. Okay? So an acidic liquid demi, when mixed with 5 volume developer, will deposit into the hair with no alkalinity, and the 5 volume developer just activates that molecule enough so that it stains the cuticle outside, stains the inside of the cuticle, and very nicely stains the outside of the cortex without penetrating it. And that color on porous hair can last even better than permanent dye. Then in that same bottle of Beauty Fusion, we can now add the alkalizer or make it into, from a little nothing like motorcycle into a car. And by mixing it with its cream booster. And the booster that comes with it is cream ammonia. That cream ammonia allows this lovely little demi-acidic color to activate and have the ability to lighten the hair when mixed with higher volumes of developer, 20 volume for most everything, and for high lift blonding or marginally higher lift blonding, 40 volume developer. So now this little innocent bottle that is a liquid acidic demi can become a permanent dye, and it also can become, when mixed a little differently, something like Wella Color Touch or Richez or Dialite. It can become a slightly alkaline, no lift shade that will cover gray hair without lifting. So every salon, and by the way, this event I went to was held by another company, but everybody in the room agreed a salon needs 4 things. They need bleach. They need an acidic demi. They need a more alkaline demi, and they need a permanent dye. With Beauty Fusion, you have one line that does it all. And if somebody really wants more opaque color, they are really looking for big changes, or they're working on thick, coarse, dense hair that never, ever wants to change or cover, we have our wonderful It's Color cream line. And I teach all of them all the time, and I will be demonstrating everything this Sunday in Annapolis. My hope is to also video the changes, Annie, so we can put them up on the Artego site, Artego USA, and show our models before. And I'll show and share the formula used, and then we'll show them after. And then what people can do is say, we can tune in maybe one day, the week after next, and say, hey, I like that. And maybe some people from the class or people who've never been to one of my classes can say, I need to create that. When people ask, and Annie, a lot of people call my home or they email me or they're on my Facebook for colorists and they'll say, I love that shade. What do I use? And here's what they don't tell me. What's the woman's hair look like now?
Right.
If a woman has 80% gray with a little bit of brown in it, the formula I'm going to give is not anything like if the woman has dark brown hair with no gray in it. But they go, I really like that. I really like that. What's the formula? And they ask me what my formula is. I know they're a good colorist when they go, gee, you got a lot of gray, don't you? What's your... So what we have to do is get the full question. And I'm reaching out to people on the Artego site. Certainly I share. I also on my Beth Minardi sites, and I flip them back to Artego when I can so that people can call and order and ask more questions. And I'm here all the time. And I love getting calls from people. So Joan Snow has become one of my big buddies. Amy's become, Curtis has become, Stephen. So a lot of them are real, and they ask very good questions. And the only question that is stupid is the one you don't ask.
Correct. I see a lot of people asking you for the formulas and then you asking them those questions, what's it look like? What's your natural level? What have you done? And all that.
Right. And sometimes people, what happens is a lot of them are in a very, especially autumn leaves. We're looking at hair. When you look at the hair, this hair color needs corrected. And it is not as simple as mixing up a product, applying it, leaving the woman alone for 30 minutes with a magazine or her phone, because that hair is different. One situation at the root, another situation in the mid-lengths, and another at the ends. So it's like you're working on 3 heads at a time. It's highly creative. It's very fun. It also builds a very local, logical, loyal clientele, because once you fix somebody, they're coming
you
back.
got them. You got
I
them.
have a woman who wants the opposite of autumn leaves, Annie, and we talked about her before. She's here in Houston with me. And she's made the decision to go silver gray. And by the way, she's one of the people who, when you look at her skin and eyes, it'll work for her. I went to, there used to be a store in New York. They were all over. Now you can get them there. You can go to any cheesy wig store or go on Amazon and buy a $29.99 gray wig. It looks like a bob, one of those Dutch boy bobs with the bob with the bangs. And if a woman comes in and says, I think I'd like to go gray, don't ever say, oh, I mean, even if you want to say you'll look like hell, don't say that. Say, really, it's choice. What I do is get the wig and I say, let's play. And I tell her to hold it. We put her hair back, we put it on. Now, in many situations, they will say, oh my God, take it off. Sometimes we agree. Well, and they'll say, you know what, let's go silver. And I tell them, we're going to do this, but we're going to do this. We're not going to do this in one day where you're going to be here 7 hours and I'm going to charge you $4,000. What we're going to do is we are going to transition the hair beautifully. And I'll tell you what I use for that. This is real important. Attention colorists who are working on hair that has been dyed burgundy, brown, black, or dark shades of brown or red for a long time, and the woman wants to go gray. You can't do this globally because you can try, but you're usually going to wind up with a mess. This is another new product I want to show you. Annie, it's called NOAM, which means no ammonia. But NOAM is stronger than other bleaches. And here's why it was invented. Guys, you want to talk about, you could I drew a rocket ship on our box at the salon. I literally drew a rocket with a little, this stuff, you don't give this to a kid who got out of beauty school last week. NOAM is an MEA, monoethanol amine powered lightener. Now, here's what's so interesting. And guess what? I got another chemist to agree. I love it when the chemist said, yeah, you're right. Because I think I'm right, but I love to be verified. Ammonia, when we mix it with our regular powder or cream lightener, Lovely Lights cream, or my favorite Lovely Lights powder, which is like my go-to every day on our highlighting. Okay. Ammonia starts out lifting, 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 and all of a sudden, after about 30 minutes with bleach, it lifts a little less, lifts a little less, lifts a little less, lifts a little less. And we're told historically that most bleach lightens for up to 2 hours. However, most lift happens in the first hour. MEA is man-made. It's bubbling an ethanol through ammonia to create monoethanolamine. Now, here's what's interesting about MEA. It doesn't stop.
Keeps going.
So it keeps, so a lady, my client, somebody has been dyeing this woman's hair level 0. I mean, she said they put dark brown on it. It's this blackety black hair. But she had a salt and pepper regrowth of about 2 inches, which I glazed, by the way, with Beauty Fusion 9AA, our level 9 double blue, just to drab it. Just great, Annie. Then I used No-Am powder lightener mixed with 30 volume developer. I know, but I started right behind around the face, down the center part line, and just a few mids to ends behind the ears, right? And I did not leave her and go outside and dance around the parking lot. I stood with her. That hair lightened pretty much, and it went to a golden orange pretty quickly. And all of a sudden, Annie, I was able to get her to, I was afraid. I wanted to take it to palest yellow to get silver, but I took her to yellow, which is the color of a lemon, not the skin, the lemon fruit. And then so I shampooed her with our Good Society blue shampoo for blondes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I used the Lola conditioner in blueberry, which that name's scary. Blueberry is silvery blue, pale blue. That's a conditioner, right? So I was conditioning the hair I bleached. So after I had glazed the root, I highlighted the hair with No-Am, because why did I use No-Am? It's stronger and it keeps going. After 1 hour, it doesn't peter out. That stuff goes and goes and goes. The pH stays way up there and it keeps bleaching, 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 never to be used on the scalp. But here's the situation. Client walks in. It wants to be blonde. And she has thick, her hair, her ponytail's this thick. It's thick, coarse, dense hair. Her gray never covers easily, or her hair's been dyed dark, dark, dark for a long, long time. And you think, how in the heck am I going to get this anything lighter? She'll come up to orange and that'll be it. And then she'll hate me. No-Am is the answer. And I think in the box, Annie, there are 2 little plastic packages, right? 2 packages of lighter in the box.
It comes in a 2-pound and a 6-pound box.
Yeah.
There's 2 sizes.
And I have to tell you, wow, even if they're using and there's a lot of good lighteners out there now, but I don't think anybody explains, and for the price of this No-Am, I have to tell you, when you are up the creek and you know that hair is not going to lighten and you have a big job to do and you're an experienced colorist, it's a problem solver. So this lady, her autumn change is she's going for silver. Now, I've done her 3 times now, and she's really coming along. And now we're looking at a little more of her natural silver. So of course I go heavier around the face and I zigzag right behind the face frame. And then I put a few more in the back. And I start in the back and I do the face frame last. Why? The hair around the face is finer and not as thick, and it's more sensitive. That hair usually lightens faster, and her percentage of gray in the front is more than it is in the back. So we've done that. That's her autumn leaves.
Interesting. No-Am's always been my #1 selling bleach. It just always has been. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, and funny, Janet, who is our person who represents our line in Annapolis, said her go-to that she sells every single day is Lovely Lights. Mm-hmm. And I use Lovely Lights cream or powder on almost everything. But when I know, No-Am to me is, and there are salons that work on a lot of thick, coarse, dense hair, and a lot of salons who are working on women who want to be lighter and who've had their hair dyed very dark, or a medium to deeper shade for a long, long time. And here's what's interesting. And I know people who have had somebody come in with a fashion shade, the hair's been bleached and there's been a direct dye like a blue or a teal
Right.
or a red or a pink or an orange or a purple applied to that bleached hair. They can't believe it. Why can't I get that damn fashion shade? I can get this lady's green hair, lighter green. I can't get it to bleach. That direct dye that's in that color literally has completely stained in a permanent way the cortex. So while you can promise this woman, I can take away a lot of the green and make it lighter, I can tone it to a moderately mid to deep ash blonde or neutral blonde. I cannot make it white with nothing. Because nothing, if they've had a couple of those treatments where they have the mermaid thing where it's like dark blue here and green here and like a peach, or yeah, that decision had to be, whoever did that had to say, I hope you like this, because the only thing we can do is cover it up and make it dark. If the truth, you know, and I'm wondering, I'm seeing that, and here I'm even in Houston, Texas, and I'm a New Yorker. There are people here who are even knowing that silver super blonde they're getting tired of it. Okay. They've done it. They liked it. They loved it. But now it's been maybe a year and a half. And I would never just put something all over them to darken the whole head. I would never even use Beauty Fusion in a deeper blonde, because when you deepen a blonde all over, she will say, my hair's black and it's medium blonde.
Dark.
But they go home and they say, my husband thinks I look horrible. I had a dear friend, she said, she didn't see me for a while, and she said, my husband thinks I look like a school marm. I said, no, you don't. But because her hair was just flatter, that's all. And it's because the salon she was going to, and I know what they did a nice retouch, but instead of glazing the hair to refresh that hair with a sheer acidic demi, they were using a thick, opaque cream color for a few minutes to refresh those ends, and it grabbed brown like bang. So, you know, we have to remember, we just have to be careful.
You know what? I saw you having a discussion the other night on one of your Beth Minardi ones. I can't remember which one, about green golds.
Yes. In fact,
I have never thought of gold as greenish.
that's because that's because your company doesn't make a green gold.
Oh, okay.
There are companies that make a BG, a GB, which is a balanced, softer gold, and there are companies that put a little green in their gold. Our tables gold are gold, and they are correct, because people, when they use its color and they go, my goodness, this gold is gold, this yellow is yellow.
Really?
Because there are brands, because think the clock back, think back 5 years, people saying, I used gold in that formula and the lady's hair was brassy. Well, no, yeah, I mean, what do you call brass? Any bit of warmth at all? Why did you use gold? Or if you were using gold, why didn't you mix it with a neutral, right?
Right.
To make a softer golden. So what companies did is, okay, you want softer gold? We're giving you soft gold, but we're not going to tell you.
And they added green.
Or a neutral.
A neutral. Okay.
Yeah, they put like 3/4 gold and 1/4 neutral or green into it. Yep.
Okay.
So
all right. I found that fascinating, because I was
they
reading
call it cool gold.
everybody. Okay.
Cool. That's a very good one. That's very good. And you know, and I have people who when they're using its color and what they or Beauty Fusion, you know, years ago, when companies made hair color, and this is way before, this is like in the 60s or the early 70s and beyond, even like the 50s or something. I understand that, I do know that Kenneth's salon in New York, when the rich women would go for their hair color, they went into these beautiful rooms that were like private booths. And there was a wonderful lady there named Mary, who was the colorist at Kenneth. And here I was a kid representing Clairol, and Kenneth would buy a lot of Clairol and he would buy our bleach. So they sent me to visit him and I was just in awe. The place was a palace. And they said, well, you know, ladies don't want anybody to know that they color their hair. So they all go into a private booth and Miss Mary will visit them with the technician and we'll do that. And I thought, oh, well, so these companies made red shades that were intended to create red on gray hair. Now think about this. So now the tables turn and it's like the late 70s, it's the early 80s, and there's disco and stuff. And young women with brown hair wanted to be burgundy red and wine red and cherry red and fire red. Well, they put on this old Miss Clairol hair color and their hair was reddish, but it wasn't red. That's when Artego and companies like Fermisi and Goldwell started making reds that were killer. Why? They were for young women who wanted to be red, or for women of any age who did not have a lot of gray hair. Those were called the fashion reds. Most companies now do create reds that are fashion, and we have fabulous fashion reds, and we even have a red booster concentrate in the Artego line, and our Beauty Fusion reds are woo! But if you're
we have the best reds of anybody, I think.
we have wonderful reds and red coppers and coppers and copper. Okay, but if you're using them on on gray hair, buffer that by, if they're 50% gray and for 50% brown, 50% of the formula should be a neutral or neutral gold, and the other 50% red or copper red, and you'll be fine. But you know, if you put a fashion red, which was made, the dye says, I have no brown in me. I have no green gold in me. I am red. I don't care what I'm on. I'm going to make it red. It's like putting red RIT dye on a white shirt. Kabunga. But if I take that red RIT dye and I put a little brown RIT dye in it, the red won't be as intense. And that's what we're on the white shirt. That's what we're doing with color. And it's wonderful. The root of the hair wants to be red. Why? Because the hair, although it's keratinized, it's not completely hardened, and it is privy to the heat of the scalp. The hair lengths, however, are more porous. They are harder to make red. And unless if somebody has black hair, and you use a level 3 dark red on it, you'll lighten the hair to about a level 2 and they'll have like a little reddish cast. They won't be a redhead. Red likes to show up most vividly when the hair is taken to a level 4, 5, 6, or 7. That's what we call the red zone in levels. This is interesting, Annie. Talking about gold. A lady applied to medium brown ashy hair that had a little bit of gray in it, 6 gold. So the woman was a 3 and she used a 6 gold. And I'm not talking about a green, I'm talking about gold. The hair lightened to a little lighter than a level 4. And what tone took over with the gold? She goes, I made that woman a redhead. Yes, you did. And I bet it's really pretty. Okay, so what did we learn today? Putting a 6 gold on level 3 hair will create a redhead. Right? Yeah, because the contributing pigment, when you start to lighten, okay, when we do swatches and we put color or we put lightener on a brunette on brown hair, don't we see that the hair turns a lighter brown and then a reddish brown and then a reddish orange? That is the contributing pigment that is in that hair that the brown pigment has overtaken. But once you remove and you're lifting away the colors that we're peeling away that brown, oh, what's under there? The natural red.
Right.
A lot of brunettes, if they went to a desert island or they went to an island vacation for the whole summer and they put no hat on and they just used sunblock on their face, but they had this long brown hair with no hat, nothing. Their hair at the end of the summer would probably be reddish golden.
Oh, yes.
It would not be baby blonde and it would not be brown. It would be, and we've seen people like that, haven't we?
Mhm. Yep.
You can use that as a highlight and then low light the hair back with brown and make her look like she paid for many, many dollars of highlights. But you've used her bleached hair as the highlight by placing low lights in it, or you can use Lola like I told you to, or tint her back using an acidic liquid demi like our Beauty Fusion. There's so many options, and I could go on for hours and hours and hours and hours. And that's why I'm so happy that when we do this immersion or any of my immersions, it's all day. I mean, we're there. We start at 10 in the morning. And I don't stop. And at 12:30 until 1:45, we break for lunch. That way people can go to the ladies' room, ask questions, eat lunch, make phone calls, walk outside and stretch, because the afternoon is very busy. And we stop at 5 and everybody gets a diploma and we take pictures. And at this event, we're going to have a little meet and greet with cocktails afterwards. And Jay's coming, so it's going to be really a festive occasion.
Nice.
It'll be autumn leaves, and we're going to do a lot of autumn leaves. We're going to do a lot of warm tones, corrections, gray coverage with interest. So we'll be sure to take pictures. And Annie, I know I have a big class at the end of October, and in November and December, nobody wants a class. They're too busy. So I guess we can start taking orders for immersion events for 2025. And
Okay.
what I tell people to call you. Is that okay?
Sure.
Good. Good.
Eventually, I will be back in the office.
Well, you're doing pretty well. Hey, I'm at my offices, which is my current living room.
Yeah.
The salon I don't have, we have a lovely office, but it's so noisy. So I'm booked the rest of the week, but I'm just delighted to do this. And everybody knows, I have 2 Facebook pages, and the easiest one to find is Beth Minardi Hair Color. The one that is only for colorists and is a Facebook group, which we have more than 5,000 colors from all over the world, from Dubai and Japan, and they're all speak English, and they're asking. That's a group called Conversations with Top Color Professionals by Beth Minardi. But if you go to Beth Minardi Hair Color, I can get you on that. I also have a website, but it's real heavy. If you're really interested in the science, level, tone, politics of what's going on, they've made me a member of the Professional Beauty Association's Advisory Council. There's a lot of political stuff, and there's a lot of chemical stuff. If you're interested, I have a website, Beth Minardi All Access. It's $2.08 a month. Most people can afford that. And I post almost every day, and it's the heavy duty stuff. So, and of course, Artego USA is with you every day. It's with Annie and the group there. And
Right.
and I know that Dustin, along with Sebastian, is doing some Zooms too. And I think
Right.
Dustin and I are going to do one together in November.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
fun.
he's pretty much a killer colorist. So I send everybody my love, trick or treat. But I'll be back in October before trick or treat. No, I guess I won't. No, I
Does
will.
it
Yeah.
have any questions? We haven't gotten any in the chat thing today.
Yeah, I was
Right.
looking. I didn't think we had.
Yeah.
People are listening, and we're going to be up on YouTube, right? So I
Yep.
can tell people to go to YouTube to take a look at
Yep.
our autumn leaves. And for
Yeah.
goodness sakes, Annie is there all the time, and you can email me or text me anytime. I'm at Beth.
Any questions, we'll get them to Beth one way or the other.
I'll get them. I get them. Annie, I hope everything's great. I hope you
Thank
have
you.
a lovely day. And the gentleman in
too.
the center, I hope that he enjoyed every bit. And remember, everybody, dream big and dream in color, and we'll be in touch.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.